Hey guys, what's up? This is the College Football Experience. We are here.
And here we go with another episode of the Extra Point Podcast with the College Football Experience. We are the College Football Experience. I am Gus. That's Cody. Will is still on his baby hiatus. He is on. We were able to grant him leave for the time being. So he's still
his off
spending
got
time with.
requested.
He's still spending time with this brand new little baby. Congratulations, Will. But we're here, man. Week 3 is here. It just feels like the season started, man. It doesn't feel right for it to be week 3. It was a jam-packed week 2. We're kind of seeing the teams that are here to play, and then we're kind of seeing the teams that we thought were fraudulent. They kind of are teams that had really big question marks. They kind of showed in week 2. But Cody, man, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. I hope you are. I am excited about this episode. I always love talking ball like you, so it's always a pleasure. How you doing?
Man, I'm pumped. I got 7 days off. I'm excited. Watch some
Had to
college
work
football.
hard for them 7 days off too.
Dude, had to work like crazy. But this is the first weekend where I get to sit at home and just veg out. Don't get off the couch from 9 a.m. till like 2 or 3 in the morning. Just
dude.
cooking. Absolutely cooking. So let's take a look back at week 2. There's really only a couple games that I think are worthy to talk about, man. Texas marched up to the big house, won 31-12. This one was a no-doubter. This one was my 10. This one played out like I thought it was going to play out. Just absolute domination by by Texas. And just not much shown from the Michigan side.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you did. You hit that perfect on your 10 confidence. I actually I fully believed, and last week's show was proof that I thought Texas was going to win, but I definitely thought Michigan was going to hang in there for a little bit, and I took my chances on hoping they could pull one out, being at home and defending champs. And I think what I took away most from that game was that Harbaugh's not there, and that defense isn't as good as it showed before. I know Texas is lethal, but I expected that the run defense to be better. It was not there, and I expected Will Johnson to be better, and he wasn't. It was not a good day on Michigan's side. But props to Texas, because that's a big win. Looking back, they'll be able to have. So
yeah, that's a huge, huge win for Sark in Texas. This is back-to-back years they've been able to go on the road and get a really season-defining win. There's still some big SEC games that they got to win, but this is a win you can definitely
huge,
hang your hat on. Yeah, yeah. Where each team kind of goes from here, I think this just propels Texas. They got bumped up to the number 2 spot. And they'll probably hang on to that for a while. And this really leaves questions if you are the Michigan team right now. It's like, who's our quarterback? Are we going to even sniff eight wins this year? Because you still got to play. You still got to play Oregon. You still got to play USC. You still got to play Ohio State. And there's teams on that schedule that you could still lose to that aren't those teams.
Oh, yeah. And, we talked preseason about Penn State and the hype they were getting. And now it's looking like, if they can play up to their standard, they're going to be a wrecking ball now that Michigan is starting to fall, so that it's going to be fun to see how that plays out. And then I think we'll find more out about Oregon this week. So that's a tough loss for Michigan. It's not one you can't bounce back from, fortunately for them, because it's Texas, but they just didn't look good on either side of the ball, and that's just kind of how that game went.
Yep, it is. Moving on, Tennessee, just throttled North Carolina State, and it wasn't even with Nico having like a highlight game either.
Dude,
he played well, but he didn't play great.
Right, and so Texas was your 10, and Tennessee was my 10. I just felt like that was one of the biggest mismatches on the whole sheet. and knowing kind of how one team is, and we talked last week, Tennessee's so fast, North Carolina State so slow. But really, what one of my takeaways was that confirmed what we were thinking was that defense. I mean, the defense is salty, man, and they're out to get it. So that's a huge win, and they're going to be extremely tough to beat moving forward.
I think this is a game that we also we hit the nail on the head with it. Whichever team was able to dictate the pace of play, whichever
Right.
team
Who could do their job better, who can do their game better.
which is exactly what Tennessee did. They showed out on the defensive side of the ball. They made Grayson McCall look like fraud,
Average.
which I kind of think he is at this point.
Yeah, and that's man, we talked a little bit last week on it, but that's kind of, I mean, that would suck as a North Carolina State fan, because you think like, we got this high power guy that's coming in, he's thrown for 4,000 yards, and it just looked like they were not even on the same level as Tennessee. So
this is
McCall, that's
back-to-back
kinda sad.
years. Back-to-back years are going to whiff on a transfer portal quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
there's one thing that I'm kind of forming an opinion on, is that a 1-year rental of a quarterback, 9 times out of 10, it's probably not going to work out. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
times and times again where we've seen it, where if you're going to get a transfer quarterback in, it will need to be where they have multiple years of eligibility left. Not this 1-year dude that's been at a school for 1 year. He had one pop year and now he's transferred for his one
Right.
senior, for his last ride. And I
Right.
mean, it's just time and time again, it just doesn't show. And then time and time again, where a guy does come in with, usually it's about 2, they maybe have 3 years,
Yeah.
they pop. And I mean,
Yeah, and I think, obviously a lot of that has to do with scheme too, is like,
it
if
does.
McCall is in that Tennessee seat, then he probably plays a lot better. But at the same time, you hit it strong, is that 1 year, we think, or at least I think, oftentimes kind of like, I mean, it's ignorant to think this way, but sometimes you just kind of feel like, well, you could plug this guy in and he's just going to be great. And then you realize kind of like they have to learn a whole new offense and learn the whole new lingo, and you're trying to get used to your wide receivers, and there's just so much into it. And then you add that little small speck of, he's not as good as we thought, and it's just, I mean, it's a recipe for disaster.
Absolute recipe for disaster, just like Colorado playing Nebraska.
Man,
I
we
mean,
hit that one strong too. And not to
yeah.
toot our own horn, but I think, at least from our side, at least from the college football experience, I think you see exactly what happened is exactly what we thought.
Yeah. I mean, I think the book's out on Colorado. Their offensive line still sucks. Their
Bad.
their defensive line still sucks.
Their whole
They,
defense sucks.
yeah, their whole entire defense sucks. They are a one-trick pony, and that
It's
trick,
sad, man, because,
yeah,
and I think we hit on it in our group, but it's sad that you have such huge playmakers, like top 5 draft picks on each side of the ball. One of them plays both sides of the ball, and you look just terrible. I mean, they just don't look good. You hit on the O-line. They gave up 6 sacks, and last year, the year before, when they gave up 8 sacks. So it's like they're not improving there, even though they've brought in some huge talent, or at least, what we thought would have
huge
been.
talent.
Yeah. And, on the flip side of things, as far as Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, man, you don't see too many. We're hitting on quarterbacks, and you don't see too many freshman quarterbacks that come in and just really
Yeah,
look comfortable like he is, and
yeah.
he's playing good.
Man, and I think that this is something that I said earlier in our group message, that it's such a waste that Shadur Sanders has to follow his freaking dad around,
Yeah.
and he has to waste his talent and waste his ability because his dad wants to run a dog and pony show to promote his own brand, to promote his sons, to promote Travis Hunter, just to
Yeah.
bounce the next year into
I
almost,
mean, it's
well,
crazy. It's just
I
crazy to think
think
what you got
that,
now and what's leaving.
yeah, Yeah, and I think that for them, it won't be a waste because their ultimate goal is not anything to do with college. Their ultimate goal is to promote them enough to get them to the league to be a top 5
Right.
pick, which he probably will.
Right.
But I just hate that because I like watching these guys in college. I like watching these guys put on for a brand, for a university, for a fan base, for a team, for a culture.
It hits different in college for sure,
Oh
but
man, it
also,
sure so does.
like we've talked before, is like those guys don't bleed for the universities like they used to. I mean,
Yeah,
you're talking about a almost $5 million quarterback that's flashy and
gonna do
dashy. Like,
nothing.
yeah, he can throw for 400, but if you can't win, then
No.
I don't know if necessarily like personal success would outweigh that to me. And not
Mm-mm.
it's easier said than done, right? Like I'm in a chair, but as far as like ultimate goals, yeah, get to the NFL and yeah, that's great. And you do have a dad that has a lot of experience and this, that, and the third. But I think what frustrates me the most about Colorado is they try to be so flashy, and that's fine if you're winning. It's not fine if you're not. So, that comes off
Shut the hell
terrible.
up
If
and
I'm
sit down if
Yeah,
you
like
ain't
if I'm a
winning.
Colorado fan, I'm like, dude, shut up. And
Yeah.
I get it, but at the same time, like you said, it's rough trying to watch some of them in college and not live up to some of the potential we thought.
And I mean, I think this just is such a stark contrast from last year's game for Nebraska. I
Yeah.
mean, they look like a completely different team, which is kind of what we were expecting with Rules
Right.
jump from year 1 to year 2. That's kind of his
That's the
track
biggest thing.
record. That's
Yep,
kind of
that's the
his track
biggest.
record. And this schedule sets up really nice for Nebraska. I
Right.
mean, I think they'll be favored in every game until the Ohio State game. Well, yeah. I think they play USC after Ohio State. I think so. Yeah,
I think
they
so
do.
too. And that they're going to be favored for a while.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, the run game
So,
is
I
clicking
mean,
and the pass game. So
yeah. So, I mean, this is just so big for that Nebraska team to be able to get over this hurdle, to be able to use this as a stepping stone to keep progressing in this season. And I think they're going to. So I'm really looking forward to them being on the pick'ems again. Speaking of the pick'ems, Cody, you won last week, dude. You went 7-3.
right, man. And
You went 7-3, but for only 36 points. Thanks,
dude, that's what
Auburn.
sucks. I lost my 9 and my 8, which I had Kentucky high just because because some of the other
Yeah.
spreads were so small, and I
Hmm.
felt like I was dumb. Like looking back, I was dumb because it was more in my mind, even though it didn't play out this way. In my mind, that was a 50-50 game, and I shouldn't have had it that high. And Auburn let me down. I thought that'd be a close game. And I truly thought it would be close. I just thought Auburn
Hmm.
would win. So I felt comfortable picking them high. Um, it sucks, winning those little onesies, twosies that, people didn't get, but I'm glad I finally won one. I'm leading the season. I'd like to see how long we can do that, but
Yeah. I
I
mean,
think I just took your great knowledge we had last week and just applied it.
shoot. I mean, you going 7-3 and only getting 36 points. That's pretty wild. But then you had people like Cleat, you had people like Spencer who were trashing the picks that me, you, Will, and Logan all freaking chose from. And
Yeah.
let's see, Cleat
I'm
4-6
surprised
for
at some of the
21 points.
records. Yeah, I'm surprised at
Spencer
some of the records.
3-7, Mr. Football Genius for 16 points.
Yeah, that is
That's
tough.
borderline unheard of.
That
That's
is tough.
borderline unheard of. So it was an absolute
We've talked about it
bloodbath of a
before. It's
week.
like when it's that bad, it takes some luck to even be that bad.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Definitely a tough week, but we called it. I mean, we said it was going to be some tricky games, and I
There were
think it
so
played
many
out.
games that were just like this could
Yeah,
literally go either way,
right.
which are almost the games that trip me up. I mean, it was the Iowa State Iowa game. It was the Georgia Tech Syracuse game, the
Yeah,
Kansas Illinois game. I mean, just games that could flip flop. And then I of course missed the two big SEC ones, the Auburn upset and then the Kentucky one. Those were the
yeah,
ones I got pretty much everyone. So I don't feel bad missing
yeah. I
those
don't think
games.
anybody
It
picked
just is
Cal.
what it is.
Yeah,
It is what it is at this point. But with week 2 behind us, we're going to take a look ahead to week 3 starting on Friday night. This is an out-of-conference game, even though it is technically they are in the same conference. It's an out-of-conference game. Arizona goes on the road to Kansas State. Kansas State favored by 7.5. This game is so weird because they both looked so bad last week, and then they're both some teams that are supposed to have high-powered offenses behind quarterbacks that are shifty, can move around, can throw. I mean, this is just such a weird game. It's in the standalone spot on Friday night. I mean, God, this is really low on my board. But I think I don't want to say the inexperience of Avery Johnson is going to show in this game, but I think it could. And I think the best player in this game is, of course, it's going to be Tet McMillan for Arizona State. He'll probably end up being the best wide receiver in college football this year, possibly. I think this is a game also that I could fall into the trap that you used to fall into in your first year, in your second year, and to pick them. I think Arizona State's going to cover. Now, I mean, I think Arizona is going to cover. I think they have a really high chance to win, but do they?
That's where it gets so tricky,
Are
dude.
they going to be the better team? And I mean, right now, I'll probably go Kansas State at home, but this has a game come 6:00 tomorrow night. It'll probably be like Arizona at like 2 or 3.
Yeah. Man, I see so many people on Arizona that it's kind of worrying me.
Tons of people are.
I definitely feel like Kansas State is the better team. Preseason we had talked that they're they got a chance to win the conference, much less win every game. It is a little bit tricky, and you never know with those Friday games, but you hit on all the big points. And I think if I'm going with my gut right now, I'm going Kansas State. And if it doesn't happen, it's because it's a shootout that who's got the ball last type feel. You hit on Arizona's wide receiver, and they look like they're clicking pretty good, but I just still trust Kansas State more, I think, and I think I'm going to go Kansas State.
Yeah, I believe this totals at 59.5.
Yeah.
I don't hate the over in this game.
Yeah,
either.
and it's actually I think it's up to 60.5 now. So
Is it?
People are playing it, yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't know because you see stuff we've talked before of like you see openings different from different sites, and the one I'm showing is it opened at 54.5, so everybody's playing the over,
hammering.
And
the
I
over.
think that's really the that's probably going to be the key to that game. But
yeah,
I think I'm gonna play K-State and see how it goes.
That ain't a bad pick. Even before I knew the over today, and since this is a tiebreaker game, I was having to put the score in. I put 31-30 Kansas State.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
whenever I went in, and I was like, I just wonder what the over under is, and I was like, damn, I was really close.
That is really close.
I was really close
Definitely
to it. So just
That's another
barely
thing that
going
I've got to start doing is putting my tiebreaker in because last week it scared me and I thought
Yeah.
Zach was going to beat me and because I didn't put my tiebreaker in, I was going to
You
be
gotta
pissed.
put the
I got to
tiebreaker
put
in,
it
dude.
in. I normally don't put it in because I'm like, I'm not going to get that high, because
Yeah.
I think last season, I don't think I won a single, week. So it's like, I don't expect to win, but now that I'm really looking at stuff more and trying to put my brain together and actually do the right thing, I'm like, I better start putting it in because it's going to get me.
I believe I lost a week last season because I didn't put my tiebreaker in,
And that's the
I
worst,
was
dude.
so pissed.
That is the worst.
I was so pissed that I didn't put the tiebreaker in, but you know what? That's life, and it is what it is, man.
Right.
It is what it is. Going up to the Big Ten, Alabama, 16.5-point favorite, going to Camp Randall Stadium to play the Badgers of Wisconsin, led by Luke Fickell. Man, this isn't Luke Fickell's first time playing Alabama. Man, this game, it would take a lot for Wisconsin to win. That's the reason the spread is this high. I mean, I think Alabama at almost every phase of the ball will be better than Wisconsin. The only thing that scares me is can Alabama's offensive line play to the way we expect them? I know they do have a bunch of injuries. Are those guys going to be back? Even if they are back, are they going to be healthy? This is a game where I think it would take Alabama to lose it more than Wisconsin to win it.
Yeah, and I agree with that. So my takeaway from the game, just looking at it, I see. I don't want to bash Wisconsin, and I don't want to come off like an SEC homer. I do agree with you. I think Bama's better in almost every single level. Now, Bama does have a younger secondary, and I think Fickle
Extremely young.
being that guy, maybe his secondary is different, but looking at Wisconsin, they average 23.5 points a game since Fickle's been there, and that's like 6 yards per attempt. So they're not really high offensive, bound. And then looking at Bama, watching them last week, I know Bama fans kind of got scared at a certain point, but going back and looking at it, man, South Florida has some wide receivers open, and if they have a better quarterback, that could be a different game, And I think that's something that if I'm Fickle or if I'm that OC or if I'm anybody in that building, I'm looking at how can we attack this young secondary, because
how can you?
There's guys getting open. It ain't hey, we're Bama and you can't throw on us. It's if I'm looking to attack Bama, I'm looking to attack through the air. But the problem is Wisconsin doesn't really do that. I mean, they're known for the run. I looked last week and they had 7 big plays in week 2. 4 were in the air. I think they had 2 flea flickers. So like 6 out of 7 went for more than 20 yards. And prior to that, in week 1, they only had 3 big plays. So it's a big jump. And I guess they're learning, hey, how to get those.
Yeah.
And then from, looking at Bama's side, I would attack. Well, there's a couple of different things. First off, you hit on the OL with them missing Tyler Booker and Proctor and them guys. My thing about Bama is like, it's almost like somebody's playing college football 25, man. It's like they just want that big play. Like, can we get that big pass? Can we get that big play? Can we get that big explosive? And you're looking at the stats, and they're 50th in the nation for first downs.
That's not good.
I mean, that's not huge. That they're not efficient. And I think that's something that's it's not gonna hurt them right now, but it's definitely gonna hurt them when you start playing some of these bigger teams. They have 11 yards per attempt at each play. So like they're trying to push the ball, and granted it works a lot of times, but sometimes it doesn't. And if I'm Bama, realistically, if I'm looking at Wisconsin, I'm trying to hit them with the run, man, because they can't stop the run. And I look back, they had 6 tackles for loss and 3 sacks last week. Wisconsin did. The week before they had only 1 tackle for loss. They're not getting in the back. They're not getting in the backfield. So that's something that, I look at from each side now. Another thing that was just kind of like glaring from the Bama game to me was just the mistakes, man. It was like penalty after penalty after penalty. And then, 2 penalties. I mean, 2 different penalties took 2 different touchdowns away. I mean, you had a 73-yard run from Milroe. They fumbled snaps. I think they had, 120 yards in penalties, and
which is just sloppy.
Yeah, you just can't win that way, long term. And a lot of it, like you said, I mean, they're missing guys on the OL, and that brings in new guys, which whatever. So, I like to give out a little bit of stats, and Bama is 4-1 against the spread versus Big Ten teams in the last 5. But Wisconsin is 5-0 as a spread. I mean, against the spread as a double-digit dog. So who's going to win that trend there? The under has been 7-2 in Wisconsin's home games since last year. So that's kind of those trends. I think if it's me, the obvious choice is Bama. I'm going to go Bama high. I think Trevor Van Dyke is going to try to force too much, and I think Bama's going to know how to really play him. And ultimately, I think Bama wins pretty big.
I think you hit the nail on the head. it would just take Alabama losing it, I feel like, more than
It would take one of their
Wisconsin
worst
winning it.
games, Wisconsin's better games, I feel like.
Yes, for sure. Coming back down to God's country, the SEC, LSU goes on the road to South Carolina. Surprisingly, a lot of talk around this game.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, you have College Game Day is going to be there. Some more college football personalities are going to this game. I mean, this is the 3:30. This is a 3:30 SEC game. No,
Big
it's a
game,
12.
yeah.
No, it's a 12 o'clock SEC game. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. It's the 12 o'clock SEC game. I mean, you have a defensive line for South Carolina that's kind of popped to start this season, which is really cool to see. And then you have LSU. They, of course, struggled. Well, they didn't struggle with USC, but they had that really awesome game with USC. Then they come home and they struggle with Nichols for a good bit. This passing attack going on the road, losing John Emery in practice to an ACL tear. I mean, can this passing game go on the road in what could be some sloppy conditions against this pass rush? Can this offensive line get a test on the road in an underrated environment? I mean, this is a place that I've wanted to go to forever. Is this
It's
stadium
cool.
going to be hyped? Can they make an impact? And then can South Carolina's offense, can Lenore Sellers, can he be the guy people think he can and expose this LSU defense that I don't think is quite fixed, specifically in the secondary? Can they do that? I don't know. We'll have to see. That's the reason that we play the game. But I think that this LSU passing attack does go on the road. I think they do withstand the conditions. I think they win. I don't know if they cover, but I'm definitely going to pick LSU to go on the road and get a big dub.
Yeah, you hit on a lot of stuff that I would hit on as well. This game just is the first thing I think about LSU right now is their O-line. The first thing I think about South Carolina is their D-line.
That's going to be such a fun matchup.
It's going to be a fun matchup because I don't know his name and I should have looked it up, but that defensive transfer that they got from Georgia Tech matched with Dylan Stewart. That I hit on Dylan Stewart last week. He is a freaking animal, bro. He's is like absolutely incredible. I mean, I've seen guys say that they would take him in the draft this year, and he's a freshman. So he's had 6 sacks and 7 stops behind the line of scrimmage. Like, he is a dog. Now, will he be able to make force against that OL? Because you got Will Campbell and he's only given up 2 sacks in his career. That really wasn't. I mean, it wasn't on him, but yeah. And then you got Emory Jones, who's he's gonna be a first round. He's an athletic, big guy. So that OL versus DL, that's gonna be fun to watch. I look at, you hit on Lenore Sellers. Can they get pressure to him? That's what I wonder. But looking at South Carolina, they've given up the second most negative plays in the nation. So they're not exactly protecting him or the running backs well. And I think if LSU can take advantage of that, that'd be huge. The other thing that I look at with South Carolina, or what I think of at least, is their takeaways. Man, they are like they're up there in takeaways. I mean, they've picked. I think they've got 5 picks, 6 fumbles. Like I told you last week about the block kicks. Like they are wanting to
all about it
the field. So that's something that I'd be looking at. And then as far as South Carolina's number 1 corner versus LSU's number 1 wide receiver, Swain versus Lacey. Lacey is a stud, but so is Swain. And I think you'll find out a little bit more about South Carolina just because this is going to be the best wide receiver group they're going to see for a long time, or at least
for a while,
easily up until now, but for a while, because that group is extremely good. So, how does that play out? And then the last thing is you hit on LSU having can they throw the ball on the road? How's it going to work? You talked about John Emery being hurt. And now they're rotating 3 different backs.
Mm-hmm.
And last week against Nichols, you only have 64 yards.
That's a tough look.
They're the only team in the SEC that doesn't have a rushing touchdown. And that's LSU. That's like a team that we all see as prestige and like they've always got a good running back and this, that. And I know John Emery's good, but I'm just saying, like, as far as where they're at now, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
You know, they only carry the ball 4.2 yards per play. That's 124th in the FBS. And then, you know, you just keep looking and it's like, man, it's kind of scary. So the other side can't run the ball either. I mean, maybe that's what you got going for you because Rocket Sanders he's a dude, but he's leading the SEC in carries, but he's also at like 2.9 yards per carry. So it's like really low on the end, you know. I'm not fully picking LSU yet. I think South Carolina has a slight chance to upset them.
For sure they do.
I'm kind of scared because I have seen a couple people on them that I don't really normally agree with.
Mm-hmm.
If I do pick them, I think it's going to be low. I'm leaning South Carolina. I do think LSU is the better team. I do think LSU should beat them, and I do think it's if I had to bet my house and like freeze LSU or South Carolina, I wouldn't just throw South Carolina in there, but I think with the potential there to upset them, I may pick South Carolina.
That wouldn't be a bad one to throw at like a 1 or a 2 just to give you that little boost ahead while you have some people losing.
I would feel better about them if they didn't win last week. I know that sounds so crazy, but now that they've won, everybody's gonna be like,
everyone's going to be like, oh, you know, we got to watch out for South Carolina.
Yeah, I thought they were trash last week. I still think they're not a great team. When you look at some of the things they're able to do, you know, I hit on the pressures and the turnovers, and then that DL is just so good. Can they make enough shake to really scare LSU? Now, week 1, LSU looked great, but week 2, I felt a little bit different on them. So we'll see.
I mean, I believe I remember me calling South Carolina possibly the worst team in the SEC last week. Shows you what I know.
No, I think that game was more telling about Kentucky than it was South Carolina. And that's not to take away from South Carolina. It's just I expected more from Kentucky, and
I did as well.
That was one pick that I was absolutely wrong with. You know, I thought it'd be 50-50 as far as I could see either team winning, but I truly felt like Kentucky was a better team, and it wasn't close. Like that's what I can't understand is it wasn't even close.
Yeah. Moving on, Boston College comes down to Columbia, Missouri. We are going from Columbia, South Carolina to Columbia, Missouri. The Missouri Tigers 16.5-point favorites. I think this is gonna be one of the more physical matchups of the week. I mean, you have Missouri, who's kind of a grinded out team, but they can hit you in the air with Theo Weiss and I always forget this wide receiver's name, Luther Burden.
Oh, Burden.
I always forget his name, but then you have Boston College coming in, who I believe they're a team with such an identity in having to run the ball. They have a quarterback that can run. They got two running backs that can run it really hard. Yeah. And then they get you to buy into the run. And they have what some Alabama fans call a really bad play caller, but he is a known good play caller. That boy Bill O'Brien, and he's going to set you up and he's going to try to hit you over the top. He's going to try to do that. So can Missouri be ready for that? Yeah. So can Missouri really be ready for that? Las Vegas says that they're going to be. They're a 16.5-point favorite. They're tied for the highest spread of the week in the pick'ems. I mean, I'm going to make Missouri prove me wrong, and I'm going to make Boston College have to prove me wrong, and I'm going to go with the team that I know is more talented. I'm going with the team who I think has a better college coach, who's going to be in the home environment, team with a lot of hype. I'm going with Missouri, but I'm not going to put them that high. Well, I'll probably put him at like a 7 and 8, maybe.
Let me see where I got him. Yeah, I've got them pretty high. Pretty high. I actually might move them to 10. I think, and I won't spend long because you kind of hit all the points. I think if Missouri is what we believe they were or believe they are and what was
They should
told
handle this game
preseason,
no
it
problem.
should not be a problem. Now,
No.
people are going to lean and say, well, Boston College beat Florida State. And
Florida
they're
State sucks.
and Florida State's not there, man. And that's not to take away from Boston College because they are good. And you hit on the two running backs and the quarterback. Those three are a nightmare for DC. You know that they're going to run the ball, and that's what Bill O'Brien is good at. And that play action is where you get cooked. So,
yeah, boy, you do get cooked.
Yeah. So, and speaking of Cook, Brady Cook, how is he going to look? Missouri is they're good, man. I don't like Drink as a coach. I think he's corny, but he is doing everything he's supposed to, and they're winning games.
Oh yeah.
They've won 18 consecutive non-con games. Missouri has, and the first time since 1935, Missouri had back-to-back shutouts. So he's doing something right, man.
I love the stat,
dude. I think it's going to be a long day for BC.
It easily could.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pick Missouri high. Now, they could, like you said, they could make Boston College come in and prove you wrong, but I think Missouri's got too much. And I think the reasoning for it, if I just had to say bottom line is Missouri is like too deep everywhere. Not two as in TWO, but two TOO, too deep. They just go, it's like all of their depth is good.
It keeps going.
Yep. And we know that up front is where it's going to be won. And I think Missouri is good up front. I think they're good up front on the defensive line. So it's going to be hard to run on them. And that's what's going to hurt them.
That's what's going to hurt them. From 116.5 point spread to another. Oregon goes on the road.
I can't wait to hear what you think about this one.
Oregon State, the Civil War, even though they don't call it that anymore, grow up.
Which is,
this is the freaking Civil War.
Oregon
goes on the road to Oregon State. I want the Beavs to win here so bad because Oregon, they've looked like a steaming, flaming, burning pile of dog poop in a brown paper bag on the neighbor's doorstep that you don't like to start this season. And I mean, they got carved up last week in the run game. Carved up. And we know that's what Oregon State loves to do. They love to grind it out. They really, really love to. And they're going on the road against an absolute rival who has so much bad blood because of the conference realignment and stuff. Can this Oregon offensive line, even though they have been struggling with injuries and stuff, can they get their heads out of their rear ends and block? Can Dylan Gabriel push the ball down the field, even though that's not what this Oregon offense is? It isn't what Dylan Gabriel is. Sometimes you have to come out of your shell and you have to do what you're not comfortable doing. And that's what I think Oregon might have to do to win this game. This is upset alert for me. I hate this game just the way Oregon's been trending.
We are on the same wavelength.
Even though I think Oregon wins.
Oh yeah.
I think this spread is way too high.
I think it could come back and bite me in the tail.
It scares me.
I think the play of the week is Oregon State plus 16.5 or whatever you can get. It was 20, but I'm with you, man. And it's really crazy because if you were to ask me like a month ago, I'd be like, nah, Oregon's gonna handle that. That ain't even gonna be a game. I know it's a rival, but they look so not what I thought to start. And that, I'm so high on Lanning, and he's probably my second favorite coach that's coaching right now, as far as like I wish I had. Because I think he does a good job. What I've seen from him in the first 2 games is not what I would want, you know. The other side, you hit on Oregon State, and they like to run the ball. I mean, they're averaging 300 yards a game. I think it's going to be a little tricky for them. You know, they're going to play that, not just the underdog card. They're going to play that, you know, the Civil War. Like, these are our, you know, if I'm a coach, I'm telling him, like, look, you know, half y'all probably wanted to go to Oregon and they wouldn't let you, or, you know, whatever.
And these dudes thought they were so damn good that they had to leave our conference and leave us out high and dry.
I'm playing all that, dude.
These fools don't even want your program to exist.
Exactly. I'm playing all that. And I think, you know, the best stat I have for this game is the last 2 times they played at Oregon State for the Civil War, Oregon State won. So that's, you know, the history is there. It's going to be so hard for me not to pick Oregon, because I'm with you. I think it's going to be a lot closer and potential upset. So I'm debating on which one I'm going to pick, but I do think Oregon State is going to give them an absolute run for their money, and maybe have like a 35-30 game, 35-31 game, you know, just something weird.
I don't even know if that many points are scored in this game. I'm
Maybe
trying to see
not.
what the total is.
Oh, I got you.
Right now.
It's sitting at 49.5.
Yeah. There's no way that many points are scored in this game.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be like a 24-17 late score by Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, Oregon State running the ball is going to kill the clock too. So
yeah. So I mean, this game really, really scares me.
I think, dude, I don't know. I'm torn, because I really, you know, you want to, and people don't understand watching the show that don't play the pick'ems, but you want to find that advantage in the picks. And sometimes it's games like this where you see and you think,
where you have to put them just a little bit lower.
Majority or all is going to be on Oregon. So do I go Oregon State and hope they pull it off, or do I go Oregon low, and then if they don't, I don't get hurt? So I'm leaning Oregon State, man, just because I think they truly have a chance to upset them.
Dude, I absolutely love it. Now, this is a part of the show where we get into these coin flippy games. I mean, coin flip games with teams that I don't know a whole hell of a lot about. And I'm just like, I mean, that's coming up in 2 games. But the backyard brawl, West Virginia at Pitt. I mean, it's at Pitt.
Your lock of the week is on this game.
My lock of the week, is it the under? Did I say the under? Yeah. I mean, I think this is just going to be such a grueling, nasty, grinded out game. It is the backyard brawl. These teams hate each other. They hate each other
more than most people know.
Dude, we're getting so many rivalry games, and it's only week 3. I mean, we just had Oregon State. That's one of the most underrated rivalries. Now we're getting the backyard brawl. I love it.
Yep.
I believe.
This is where our favorite chant comes in, isn't it?
Eat Pitt. Yeah. I'm going Pitt.
I'm going Pitt as well.
I'm going Pitt. I think the hype from West Virginia was a little too much coming into the year. They were a good ball club last year, but I don't think that they were that solid 8-win team that their record showed. And I mean, I just think you're having to go on the road. It's going to be such a tight game. I'm just going Pitt for the fun of it. Honestly, I'm putting this game at 2. Low.
I think let me see where I got them. So I got them in the mid range, but I feel fairly good with Pitt. I think overall, you know, them being at home is obviously going to play a factor. I think the rivalry is going to play a factor. I think you're probably going to see it go back and forth for a minute. But I ultimately think Pitt has the upper hand. I'm going Pitt, and we'll go about midway. Let's say 5.
Midway 5. Okay, so do you want to go over Florida now, or do you want to go over Florida last?
Whenever you want. I'll try not to spend too long on them. That's my thing. I can talk all day on it.
Then that means we'll go over Florida now. This is the second time they've been on the pick'ems. Texas A&M coming in there 3.5-point favorite over the Florida Gators in the swamp. What's the quarterback situation going to be for Florida? That's been the talking point all freaking week long, and I just wish it'd be Saturday so we'd see who that boy Billy trots out there to
It's
start
gonna
the
be
game.
Mertz. It's not. I'm not even trolling.
Yeah.
I think it is
Yeah.
100% gonna be Mertz.
I think that it's going to be Mertz too. And I get everyone's side of it. I don't think
I do
there's
too, honestly.
I
I do
truly
too.
don't think there's a wrong choice with who he does end up choosing as a starter
Yeah.
because there's advantages to starting both, there's disadvantages to starting both. It's
Right.
it's just
And
it's just what type of game do you want to play?
yeah, and I think the majority of fans, or I don't know a good word for these type of fans, but the majority of fans want to see DJ because they think he threw
He's the hope, he's
456.
the
He's
future.
the best quarterback
He's
last year
yeah,
coming out. He is our future. He is this. He is that. And I don't disagree. I'm with
I
you. I think
100% get that.
I see both sides. Now I
Mhm,
try to think more like, okay, if I'm Billy, what do I do?
mhm,
And if you're Billy, you realize you've got trust with Mertz, right? You've seen him
mhm,
win big games. You've seen him give it
mhm.
his complete all, physically, mentally, and emotionally, where he literally got hurt. Um, Now the flip side of that is he doesn't, or he hasn't looked the same as he has last year yet. So against Miami, he did not look like the typical Mertz. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know. I think personally it's because Miami had our number on defense. That's truly what I think.
That's a really good
Now
Miami team.
it is, and that DL is just incredible. But anyway, so if I'm Billy, Billy's thinking different than I am. But if I'm Billy, I trot Mertz out there because he's not going to be, I mean, he'll be up for the game. He's not going to be nervous like, oh crap, Texas A&M's coming. Who cares?
Yeah.
So you got that reliability. He knows your offense. He is a good quarterback. That's kind of what hurts me. Just kind of looking around here in Florida talk is don't bash Mertz because you want Lagway, and not that all fans are. It's just like he's still a good quarterback. He's just
Yeah.
not a just
An it guy.
athletic X
Yeah.
factor. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's what Lagway is. He's a better throwing. Everybody likes to throw the word Cam Newton around. He's a better throwing Cam. Is kind of what you can picture him as. And I'm not saying he's Cam Newton. I'm just saying, like, if you were to describe him, and that's kind of how I look at him.
That's the way his game is. That's his body
Yeah,
type.
and he's not scared
That's
to
the way
run.
he
He's a
moves
bigger
on the
guy.
field.
Yeah, and he breaks the freshman record last week, throwing 456. I think he threw for four out of 6 passes that were 20 yards or further, which that tied my boy Emory Jones back in 2021. I'm not going to be one of those fans that I'm going to be pissed if he trots Mertz out. One, I know he's going to. I just know he's going to. I just know how those type of things go. But two, you got to trust that he's there for a reason. Him, all the experience he's had, and whether you like him or not, go with Mertz. And if he doesn't work, then pull him. The problem is he going to pull him too late? That's my biggest thing. Is I don't mind if you play both. Just don't wait too long to pull him. If it's not working, you got to pull him. That's my thing. I don't feel good, and I'll try to not spin forever. I don't feel good about Florida in this game. I told you week 1 hurt me.
Hurt your
Looking at
soul.
A&M, bro, it hurt me bad. Like different than most. Looking at A&M, man, last week I watched the game against McNeese. They scored they didn't punt the ball. They scored like the first 8 offensive drives straight. It's the first time Mike Elko's ever scored over 50 points. So that I mean that shows you and even though you're playing McNeese, I get it, but it still takes execution, right? We can you can play middle schoolers, but if you drop the ball, then you drop the ball. So I think they look good passing the ball, and I think they look good running the ball. They had 2 touchdowns on outside runs that were, I think they totaled to like 119 yards. The biggest thing for them or like watching them versus McNeese versus watching them against Notre Dame was Notre Dame pressed them, man, and like A&M could not, like, it was like 3rd and long every other drive, and they didn't convert a single one that was 3rd and long. And then the other thing is, if I'm Florida, everybody's focusing on the quarterbacks, and that's fine because that's the storyline. The realistic storyline or attack that I'm attacking A&M is through the run because they can't stop the run. They're averaging,
which is so surprising.
right? The DL is so. I mean, the
Dude,
DL's got big names, but
dude,
they're allowing almost 190 yards average on the ground. That's 100.
that was one thing that I was gonna bring up. That's almost why I feel like Lagway would be so big in this game, just
Right.
because he opens up the run threat for the quarterback, even if it's just a threat that A&M has to respect, that still
Right.
opens it up in the run game. So, like, does Florida go all in on the run? Which, of course, like we know football does, that can open
Right.
up the pass, and then that's where Lagway shined last week, even though it was just against Stanford. I mean, and they suck. They suck.
Yeah, but you can
But
just see
still,
the way the ball comes out of his hand, man. It's
just a
different,
little different. Yeah.
and he's. I love the kid, man. Like, no homo. I love DJ Lagway, and it's being down there, seeing him, and seeing
Yeah.
how he is, and seeing his parents on Twitter, and the way he carries himself, man. He doesn't act like I'm the biggest name in college football. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he is. I'm saying he doesn't act that way. He acts as if I got a job to do, and I'm going to
Mhm.
compete, and I'm going to do my job.
I love
And
it.
I just love his attitude, man. I love how he is. I love that he bought into Billy, and I hope for everything in me that not only he stays, but that
he
he's
stays
successful.
regardless.
Yeah, I just hope he's successful, man. And I just worry with this game. And one of the biggest things. So before we move forward, I told you I wasn't going to take long. Sorry.
No,
The
you're all
biggest
good,
factor
man. I
in this
love it.
game that most people probably don't know is Texas A&M DC was with Billy. He left us and went there. So he knows Billy. He knows how Billy's offense works. And you could say that, well, Billy knows him too, but the way Billy's offense is set up and how it's so run heavy, and it's kind of really simple to not simple, but you know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I feel like that's going to be an advantage point for A&M. And then looking at their stats, man, everybody keeps seeing the little thing that's going around, how they're on a 10-game road losing streak, which that's
That
whatever.
is true.
But if you look at it, if you deep dive those 10 games,
There were a lot that were by one score.
Bros, 6 of them were one score. And I think 2 of them they had a fourth quarter lead in. So it's not like they're getting killed. I say all that to say, I hope Florida wins. I see a way that Florida could win, and I don't doubt them, and I never want to say they can't win. But if I had to choose for my pick'ems, I'm picking every team that Florida plays anyways, because I'm about to be Brennan and I'm superstitious now. But I'm picking A&M because I think they have an advantage, overall.
So with you picking A&M, that means you're going to win, because do you know why? Because I'm picking Florida, and I never pick Florida games right. I'm picking Florida just because
It's a must win for Billy, and I think
it is.
I think there's an easy route for him to figure out. This is a first year coach. I know how your DC is. We're at home. My fans are pissed. I got to find a way to win, and I could see that.
And what's Connor Wegman gonna be like? How is
he's
he
anything like
gonna
we've
play?
seen? It's not good.
Yeah. I mean, who is gonna be the quarterback to make the big mistakes? Because I also kind of feel like this could be a game where no team is playing like they want to win. They just keep playing like they want to lose the damn game.
Yeah.
So
the last couple times we've played them has been like that, and
scrummy.
it is what it is. Well, hopefully we'll turn out.
All right. We got 3 more games to go to. Let's just pop through them real quick. We got Memphis going to FSU. There's been so much talk about how bad FSU has played, and they've looked terrible. They've looked absolutely horrible. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for Memphis. This is a really big get right game for FSU. I think they're going to win, even though I don't think they have the better quarterback. I think they have the better athletes. And then this is a game where you could say that just having the better athletes can kind of just barely put you over the edge. I mean, because I think this game at the start of this week, it was like -2.5 FSU. And it's all the way up to 6.5.
Yeah, everybody's playing them.
Yeah.
I want to spend a good amount on this game, but I know we're running out of time, so I won't take too long. I think the interesting thing about this is if most people don't know is Mike Norvell came from Memphis, so it's kind of it's a fun game almost.
Oh yeah, it's a really fun game. That's the reason it's on here.
Yeah, and I'll take Florida State to avoid the second 0-3 start in 4 years. I do think that there's a lot of blame on DJ. That's rightfully so, but they can't run the ball either, and that's mostly because of
that
DJ.
Offensive line sucks.
But I think they'll figure it out this game, and I do think they'll win. Roydell Williams and Big T, they'll figure it out. They only had 85 yards together, but this is a game that I just see them get clicking, and then it's going to be hard for Memphis to keep up. Not score wise, just like physically keep up.
Yeah. So we're both going FSU. Now going out west to the Apple Cup. This is another rivalry game. This game is being played in Seattle, but it's not a home game for the Huskies. That's kind of wild. It's being played in the Seahawks Stadium. I love, and when I tell you, I love the Cougs.
Okay.
I love the Cougs here. Even though I'm going to play them low, I'm playing Washington State kind of for the reason that I said that I like Oregon State. I mean, this is a big expletive game for Washington State. So I'm going to Cougs to go into Seattle and get a big win.
Yeah, and I think both teams are undefeated. And just real quick, I would say I could agree with you. They look better compared to the two. I could easily see either one winning. Haven't fully decided, kind of which way I want to. Which way I want to go. I think I've got Washington right now, but I could easily flip this one just because I don't see these teams as often. So it's almost like some of the other ones, you watch year in and year out. And this is one that I'll see Washington State a few games. I'll see Washington a few games. So I'm going to probably stick with Washington, but I don't know. May flip it. I don't know.
Flippy floppy. Now, this is a game that I think is going to be really fun. UCF with the new all whites. Did you see those?
Man, they looked really good.
New all whites. They look real. Oh, they have some phenomenal uniforms.
Yeah.
Going on. They're a road favorite. And boy, do I love a home dog. The TCU Horned Frogs.
You going TCU?
Man, I think I'm going Horned Frogs. This game is my one.
Hey man, I don't know
this
if I'm
game
scared
is
or
my
excited
one
because we've been.
This game is my one.
Thing.
But I'm going.
I've got
to Horned
TCU
Frogs.
too. I don't know. I've got them low. I think no. I've got them kind of high.
Really?
I don't know. I can't really. I can't really just say for a fact TCU's going to win, obviously, but I feel pretty good in saying that they are a home dog, and UCF is talented, and we'll see. But I think I may go TCU. But it'll be low if I do. If not, I'll put UCF a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm. I'm going the Frogs.
I mean, that's
one.
initially that's what I've got. I just don't
Yeah.
want to. I don't want to commit to it yet because I think between now and then you could see some stuff shake out. So we'll see.
Yeah, dude. And I mean that's completely fair. I mean those last 5 games, total coin flips. Total coin flips.
The lock of the pick'ems is what this
The
week.
lock.
Let's start giving a lock. Just you got to give one lock. Hey,
I mean, I think it's got to be the West Virginia Pitt under 15. Is it?
No, I mean for the pick'ems. If you had to just pick one team that hey guys, bet this team.
This is a team that's going to win money line or like straight up spread.
Let's go. We'll do money line because I mean it's going to get harder as the weeks go by. So who's your
Cougs money line, baby?
Okay, give me Bama
money
then.
line. Cougs money line. I freaking love it with the Cougs on the money line. I love it. All right, man. I will see you when we break down week 3 and look ahead to week 4 next week. Man, I can't wait. College football's here. It's the best time of the season. And one last note for everyone saying this is the weekend to go apple picking. This is the weekend. This is the weekend to go to the state fair. This is the weekend to take off of college football.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. We only get 12 weekends of the freaking regular season. And you're gonna try to go apple picking? I say
apple
no.
Pick these pick'ems.
Apple pick these. You can apple pick'ems. All right, man. I will see you next week.
Enjoyed it.
Yes.